the disappearance day of one of the very great compassionate Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, Abhiram Thakur. Abhiram Thakur was a confidential associate of Lord Nityananda Prabhu and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Lord Krishna's leela, he was the brother of Srimati Radha Rani, Sridama. And in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, he was very prominent because of his fearless enthusiasm to preach and his uncompromising mood of establishing pure Siddhanta. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent Lord Nityananda to Bengal from Puri to preach, he gave him several associates. One was Gadhadhar Das, another was Abhiram Gopal. As they were going, they were having kirtan procession. Abhiram Thakur was in such ecstasy that he stood in a threefold bending form as if he was playing a flute for 9 hours without moving. And the devotees were all around him, very happily chanting the holy name. One day, Abhiram Thakur entered into the mood of a cowherd boy and wanted to play a flute. So he started running around asking everyone, "Where is a flute?" But no one had a flute. He couldn't find a flute. So he ran into the forest looking for a flute. And due to his enthusiasm, when he saw a gigantic log, some people say 11 strong men could not lift it. In Bhakti Ratnakar, Narahari Chakravarti says 100 people could not lift that log. But Abhiram Thakur lifted it and stood in a threefold bending form and started blowing into a hole in it and playing beautiful, sweet flute music. Anyone who heard that music certainly achieved love of Godhead. He also had a special quality that when he would bow down to any person, if that person had a trace of material desires in their heart, they would die immediately. So he didn't bow down to so many people. But if there were hypocrites or rascals, he would offer his obeisances. They were never to be seen again. And if he would bow down to a deity, if it was an idol, which is not worshipped with proper love and devotion, not installed by proper standards, if Krishna wasn't personally in that deity receiving the offerings, if he bowed down in a temple to a deity, the deity would immediately crack in many pieces and fall to the floor. If he bowed down to any stone, if it wasn't a genuine, real Shalagram Shila, it would just crack and turn to powder. This was his power. So we know the story of Raghunandan Thakur. He was a little boy. His father was Mukunda Sarakar. So the word was spreading amongst the Vaishnavas that Gopinath ate the food, physically, that were offered by this small child Raghunandan. Soon the news spread to a place called Kanakula Krishna Nagar. That is where Abhiram Thakur was living. Abhiram Thakur was living at this place, and one day he had a dream that under the ground there was a deity, and the deity told him in the dream, "My name is Gopinath, and you should come and get me." So he dug in the ground, and there he found a beautiful, beautiful form of the Lord, and installed him right on the bank of the river Kana. So it became known as Kanakula Krishna Nagar. So when Abhiram Thakur heard that this little boy Raghunandan caused Gopinath to come off the altar and eat the food, he was so happy. He decided, "I'm going to go and offer my obeisances to that child." Now we've already heard what happens to people he offers his obeisances to. So he was coming, and the news came to his parents that Abhiram Thakur is coming to offer obeisances to Raghunandan. And however advanced a child is, to the parents, he's still a child. Even the Lord himself, when he comes in this world, the nature of Vatsalya Ras is you can't really believe he's actually the Lord. And even if he is, still he's my child. So the parents, when they heard Abhiram Thakur was coming, they were thinking, what if our child has even a single speck of material desire in his heart? He'll die. What should we do? It was a crisis, family crisis. So they decided to hide him. They sent him to someone's house just outside the village. Abhiram Thakur arrived. He came to the door. They offered all respects to him. He said, I want to offer my obeisances to your son, Raghunandan. They said, he's not here. Where is he? He's not in the village. He's out of town. We don't know when he'll come back. So Abhiram Thakur went to sit under a tree. That tree is still there. He was sitting under a tree, and meanwhile Raghunandan was hearing news that the great Vaishnav Abhiram Thakur was in Srikanda. So he wanted to have that darshan so bad. So he secretly left the house that was keeping him and went searching for Abhiram. And he went to that secluded little forest area. There he saw Abhiram Thakur sitting under the tree. He came and offered his prostrated obeisances to Abhiram Thakur. Abhiram, who are you? I am Raghu. Oh, you are Raghunandan. Please accept my obeisances. Abhiram Thakur then offered his prostrated obeisances. And Raghunandan did not die. It was certified that he was a Paramhamsa, pure Vaishnava, without a trace of material desire in his heart. They were both so ecstatic that they got up and Abhiram Thakur embraced the child. As he embraced him, he bathed him with tears. The child was crying so much in love that he bathed Abhiram Thakur with his tears. Then they both began to dance together and chant the holy name. They were dancing with such love that the ankle bell, Nupur, of Raghunandan broke off in the kirtan, and he was dancing with his legs so enthusiastically that that ankle bracelet flew 10 kilometers away and entered into a body of water, which today is called Nupur Kund, one of the holiest places for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Abhiram Thakur also had a whip. The whip's name is Jai Mangala. And this whip was very special because when Abhiram Thakur would touch somebody with that whip and chant the holy names, immediately that person would attain pure unmotivated love for Krishna. So he had many preaching methods. Sometimes he would bow down to people, sometimes he would whip people, but he was always preaching the glories of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, and always preaching the Harinam Sankirtan movement.
You were listening to Radhanath Swami on thesacredconnect.com.